This is More to Say with Randy Naughton. Interesting conversations with interesting people. We welcome you into another edition of More to Say with Randy Naughton. Interesting conversations with interesting people. And if you're not doing it yet, please follow me. I'm all over the place. I'm on the Twitter or the X. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Insta. I'm on Threads, and I'm on TikTok. So if you follow me, I do a lot of follow back. So please do that. And of course, on the podcast, if you've been enjoying it, like, subscribe, tell your friends, share, all that good stuff. Today, we are talking to one of my good friends who I've literally known for decades. Yeah, decades.
Yeah.
This is Marianne Moore. Say hello to Marianne. Marianne right now is the editor of St. Louis Bride magazine. But Marianne, over the years, and I know this, she has had her hands in so many cookie jars when it comes to events, weddings, cooking, catering, you name it, she knows it. Did I describe that properly?
You got it. It's exactly right.
So talk about, when it comes to weddings in particular, what have you done? You've done pretty much everything.
Yeah, I have. Everything from the surprise weddings that one of my most fun was back in the day when a couple really pulled off a surprise wedding. So they told their family that they were all going to get together for an engagement party. And I went out to make the announcement that, surprise.
Oh, you got to be the one?
I did. It was so
amazing.
fun. It was so fun. So they actually pulled it off, and everyone was surprised. I told her parents right before we made the big announcement, because we had a little conversation, brought them in the back and said, yeah, I'm going to need you to walk your daughter down the aisle.
Oh, that's awesome.
Seriously.
That's goosebump stuff right there. I bet that was awesome. So you've been literally cooking. You've been on the catering side. You've been on the wedding planning side. You've now you're helping stage photo shoots for St. Louis Bride magazine. You're the editor there. Tell me what the duties are for that magazine. What do you do in particular?
Well, here's the fun part about it is, you mentioned that I have done I've been the jack of all trades in the wedding industry. And so that experience has totally brought me to this path that I'm on now. So for so many years, I always said I was the couple's storyteller. I got to tell couple stories. I helped them plan. I helped them celebrate their great days. Now, the fun part about what I do is I'm actually the storyteller, right? So now I get to talk about all the fun things in the wedding industry from the perspective of couples planning their wedding. So it's all the really fun things that they need to know.
Or stressful.
Absolutely stressful. I mean, that's honestly, I kind of feel like really as you go through your moments of adulting life, as you start to get through that, planning a wedding is extremely stressful. The expectations are insane.
But it all depends too, Marianne, on what exactly the vision is, because you've got these weddings that are faith-based and held in churches, and they're ceremonial and they're religious and they're all this stuff. That's one spectrum. But then you've got the barefoot couple on the beach who does not give a crap about what anyone thinks. And so it kind of runs the gamut, right?
It does. It really does. And the interesting part that I found kind of in my journey is that couples that aren't necessarily faith-based, religious, spiritual, anything that they celebrate, believe, whatever, it's funny because then getting back to planning their wedding, all of a sudden they want to come back home, come back to church, come back to celebrate something a little more than just, oh, hey, we're just going to go get married. I think that brings that out in a lot of couples.
Well, that's the thing too, where when my daughter got married, she wanted, and there was a whole different side of it because
I remember that.
Yes, he's from the Czech Republic, and there were immigration issues and getting him here, and the pandemic separated them. It was a whole thing, but thankfully they're going strong after 4+ years now, which is great. Yeah, They're
Love it.
great. So in fact, we talked to you about
Yeah,
possibly
you
booking the
did.
Carmel room about their
Hmm.
second wedding because they
Yeah,
had to get married in Canada. Again, immigration, as you
right.
know. But anyway, that's for another podcast. But I want to ask you, and this is kind of a broad question.
Sure.
Are there any rules anymore for weddings?
I'm going to get on a big giant soapbox right now.
Okay, go
This is
girl.
you've hit a nerve on that with me. Because again, I use the word expectation, right? Couple gets engaged, all of a sudden these families are coming together, moms, sisters, everyone, and everyone has an opinion. And one of my big perspectives at St. Louis Bride is we want to give you the inspiration to do what you're going to do. Do what you're going to do. It's your wedding. When you come away from all of the stuff, all of the pomp and circumstance, all of the things, you have each other and that's the basis of what's important. So I always tell couples, think about what celebrations, what elements, what moments mean more to you. One of the coolest weddings that we just featured in the last issue is one that I will continue to talk about forever and ever.
Do
It was a
tell.
couple, oh my gosh, it was a couple that did a 3-day music festival, think Coachella celebration. They did a Friday night celebration, a Saturday celebration,
Wow.
a Sunday celebration. They had numerous bands, they had numerous food trucks, food offerings, all of it. And to me, when I look at a wedding like that, that is that couple's wedding. They
That's
did it for
their
them.
signature, right?
Yes, yes. And so I feel like when we talk about trends and things, I try not to talk a lot about quote unquote trends because, again, coming away from the end of the day, you want a celebration that reflects you. So we talk about things we love and things that I love to see. And it changes all the time. Not everybody is the big giant 300-person venue wedding, which there's a total place for that. There's a place for every couple's celebration in the wedding world. That's
Yeah,
my
and
thought.
people are doing it in backyards, in
Hmm.
literal barns,
Yeah, yeah.
with no shoes,
Hmm.
catering from fast food places. It
Absolutely.
And in my opinion, like you said, this is their celebration.
Hmm.
It should be whatever the couple wants, but it's not always that way, is it? Because you have
No.
this person's opinion and
Hmm.
that person's opinion.
Yep.
And if I'm putting money in, then I need a da 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 da. How much of that do you
Absolutely.
see?
A lot. I mean, you
Oh,
do. Yeah. I mean, trust me, and I've been married for, however many years I've been married, but, my mom, I was the only daughter. So, this was her chance. She was the big Italian one, like the big Italian force that we approached it as, this was her wedding.
oh, that's nice.
Because that was her mom. Yeah, her mom did that for her. Yeah. So I think that there's a balance though, and I think that clear expectations too. Coming to the table with what are your parents contributing, what kind of say so, and you have to be aligned as a couple to be able to deal with those things.
Yeah.
He has to back her, she has to back him,
And you know what?
because you get a lot of this.
Yeah, they're not used to that yet because they're
Mhm.
not a couple yet. And,
Right,
there may have been a lot of outlying opinions coming in from
right.
every which way. But you're right. They have to
Yeah.
plan that. They have to do that, in my opinion, before they start any of the wedding planning.
The minute, I always say take a moment. You get engaged. First question everybody always asks is, oh my God, when are you going to do it? What are you going
When
to
is
do?
the wedding? Right.
You know what? And it's just like, you know what? We haven't even had a chance to think about it yet. We're just going to enjoy being engaged for the next 3 months. I want to call him. I want to get used to calling him my fiance, whatever it is. And and then you kind of set that first boundary. Then honestly, to sit down with your partner and have those clear cut conversations. I know, the stereotypical groom guy doesn't want to be involved in a lot of it, but my biggest advice is you have an opinion. So
Well,
let's lay it out there.
it's their day too, you know, and
Absolutely.
I get the whole thing, the bride, the princess, the I get
Right.
all that.
Yeah.
But to me, I think the dude, the groom, gets cheated out
Mhm.
of the moment. Kind
Oh,
of.
yeah. And we're really talking a lot about that, in upcoming issues. And one of the things that things I love is really paying attention to the groom and his parents as well. And making sure that your photographer does a first look with the groom and his parents,
Hmm.
just like he does or she does with the bride and her parents or couple, whatever it is, whoever's getting married. But, don't ever forget those components of it, because
It,
again, the groom has a say too.
it's funny you mentioned that because just yesterday I was scrolling through nonsense videos or whatever, and I saw a bride at the reception get up and say, "This is unorthodox. This is not done." You know, the best man says, "My guy," and the
Yeah.
the father walks the daughter down the aisle. The bride got up and said a speech and dedicated it to her mom,
Oh, I
and
love that.
there was a split screen and it showed the mom's reaction. She was floored. She said, moms don't get the glory on this day. The dad does with the first look and the walk down the aisle.
Oh
And
my gosh. It's
I
so
mean,
interesting that you say that.
yeah,
I'm working on a website. I'm working, so I do all the web posts and everything. And I'm actually working on a post that's going to go out later today. The bride said just that. And
really.
she said, my mom, and she admitted it, I've always been closer to my mom than my dad. And she's always been my rock. She was a floral designer and totally cleaned out our basement to do all the florals for the wedding. She did a special drawing of the two of them. This is the cool thing that I love. You want to talk about a trend or a thing? A first dance with mom too.
Yeah.
They did a first dance.
And
I
that was
love that.
that was the idea. They kind of broke those norms. And
Hmm.
that kind of goes back to, you know what? Do whatever the heck you want to do. This
I
is your
agree.
day. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, obviously there's always going to be quote unquote etiquette. There's always going to be kind of things to do the right way. But again, when it comes to planning, I got married at a sailboat harbor. Like when I got married, we got married. I came up on our sailboat and walked up the aisle, got
Well,
married
that's
under
your
a tent.
vibe. That's what you
That's
guys
our
do.
vibe.
Yeah.
But again, looking back on it, I wouldn't have had it any other way. And that's what I want couples to understand is when they look back on their wedding, I would love to hear them say, I wouldn't have had it any other way.
And that was my wedding 35 going on
Yeah.
36 years
Yeah.
ago. I was born in Niagara Falls, New York, and I'm this type of person. It's like I didn't want all that pomp and
Hmm.
circumstance. I borrowed my sister's wedding dress. We got
Love it.
married at the brink of Niagara Falls
I love that.
by the then mayor, who was my middle school principal. And at the TV station, they shot 2, 3 cameras of it. They gave me the video. It was
Right.
it was perfect.
Hmm.
And I we got married on a Saturday. I went back to work on Monday. My opinion is whether you eat a huge steak or a hamburger, either way you're full. Either way you're going to
Absolutely.
end up married, right?
Absolutely. And if food's important to you, you know what? But that brings up a great point. If food is important to you, make that a focus.
Yeah.
If a bit like again, I go back to this love, we called it Lovapalooza, this big 3-day wedding
That's
celebration.
awesome.
It's interesting because again, food was a big part of it. And so they had the great food choice, the food trucks and the fiesta, the mariachi band for the
Oh,
first
that's
night, the whole
fun.
thing. So again, it's interesting. Don't it doesn't have to be all traditional, because my question is this: what is traditional anyway?
Right, right.
Right? I
Everyone's got
mean,
different traditions.
everyone's got a lot of different traditions, and I will tell you, when I am looking, we feature real weddings in the magazine, and when I look at the submissions that we get, I look for that unique story. The groom that had his suit tailored off of one of the guys from Guns N' Roses with the top hat and the whole thing.
Right.
But when you see the couple, it was totally their vibe, totally their story.
That's awesome.
Coolest thing.
Now, as lovely as all of this is and happy ever after, and the dress is beautiful and everybody's boohooing and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You've also seen some disasters. I know
Oh,
this.
yes, I have.
I asked my followers on social media the other day, wedding fails.
Right.
What do you got? One of my dear friends posted that, at the reception, my mom went to light some candle and she was wearing feathers on her sleeve and
Yeah.
they caught fire.
Yeah. Yep.
Another person mentioned that during the ceremony, the bride had to leave the altar a few times, excuse herself because she didn't feel well. Well, everyone
Yeah.
knew she was out doing shots the night
Mhm.
before. So I want to hear, I want to hear some of the doozies that you've witnessed.
Well, I mean, we've had things as catastrophic as the wedding cake go down. So like literally, I've seen that a few times.
Yeah.
There's been a baker that's carried a wedding cake in. It's gone down on the
Oh,
floor.
there are a lot of memes on
Um,
social media about that.
there is, and that's true. I mean, there was one where the cake table collapsed, and luckily, um, they had already cut the cake, so they had the photos,
Oh,
which was
good.
great. But the mom actually, or someone, one of the tiers was totally annihilated, but we could salvage the rest of it. So there was a sign that said, "This isn't floor cake. You can eat it."
Oh, that's funny. That's
But you know
funny.
what? But what kind of sense of, I mean, what a great sense of humor to be able
Right.
to kind of roll with that too, because oh my God, like that is the worst feeling in the world. And of course I've seen, during the horror, I've seen couples go down, because somebody grabs the wrong chair with no arms
Oh,
and they can't deal with it. And I literally at one wedding, this was back in the day. I mean, I'm dating myself now with chair covers, right? They used to do the chair covers with the bows, right?
right, right.
One of the groomsmen grabbed one of those chairs to do the horror. And I literally was like, it was like a movie. Like I was trying to jump across chairs and stuff. I'm like, no, please don't do that. And switched it out for um, a chair with arms. But
Well,
it's
yeah, you see fainting at the altar, you see tripping down the
absolutely,
aisle, you see kids throwing a fit who don't want to be flower girls.
oh,
You
all the
see all
time,
that, which to
all the time.
me, I think it makes for more memorable stuff.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Of course, I did have one, and this is way way back in the day, and they were all lined up, and the mom and dad, and the bride was kind of in the back. The mom and dad were going to walk the groom down the aisle, and she literally turned to him and said, "It's not too late."
What?
Right? Yeah, she
She
literally said,
bailed
"It's
on
not
him?
too late." Yeah, no, she said it. The mom told her son, "It's not too late to bail."
Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
I
and
bet
I'm
they have,
just like,
I bet Thanksgiving is great at their house now.
yeah, I
Holy
know. Yeah,
cow.
yeah. I wonder. Because a lot of times I don't see. There's couples that I see that I've been friends with. I've seen their babies, all of it. But then there's some that I don't know, and that's one of the I don't knows. But
You always kind of wonder.
yeah, it is. It's like, well, you just want to say to the bride, honey, you might want to rethink.
Oh,
I don't
yikes.
know. Yeah,
There's one thing you taught me, I think when we had lunch maybe a year ago or so.
yeah.
You told me the story, which I never knew, about why they bring the cake out and then take it away. Because you
Oh
have a
yeah.
horror story related to that. Share that story.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that was. It's like basically what ends up happening is they bring the cake out and so the couple can cut it
And get
and
the
then they
photos.
and they get the photos and everything and then they take the cake in the back so the chefs can cut it.
Right.
And so if give me a
I,
little
I think I
reminder.
think you said there were multiple cakes and it was very hot and they left them out.
Oh, totally. And
Yeah.
everything was just melting
Yes.
I mean, everything was just melting all over the place. Um, I've had things happen with, again, the cake going down and not having any extra cake to back it up. Food. I mean, food is another one. Food allergies is a huge thing. And there was a bride that was deathly allergic to nuts and it was made perfectly clear that she could not have anything. And this was just a story that was relayed to me.
Yeah.
And there ended up the kitchen left the nuts off of her salad, but they didn't leave the nuts off of anybody else's salad. And think
And
about it for a
just her
minute.
being around it, right?
Just her being around it, but think about what else happens.
Kissing
Everybody
the
always is
groom.
kissing and hugging
Yes,
you and
yes.
all of those things.
Oh
And
my.
so that's how she was like, I have to have all of these removed immediately.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they had to remove all of the salads right away, so that, because she was literally deathly allergic.
Well, yeah, that is
And
that's
that's things
scary.
to think about. Those are definitely things to think about in planning too.
Well, I know that you just got back from a trip with your husband to
I did.
Paris, and I was following you on social media, envious, and you were having the time of your life. What wedding inspo did you get on that trip? Was it a
Oh my
work trip,
gosh.
pure pleasure? Did you accidentally get inspiration from somewhere? What did you
Oh,
get?
always. Yeah. Oh, inspiration is, we always look at, when we're looking at new issues and we're looking at the next, 3 issues out, we publish twice a year. I'm always looking for inspiration everywhere. And I have
What
to
better
say,
place than Paris, right?
Paris, right. I mean, the bridal salons were insane. The food, obviously, the food scene is insane. But I think probably my biggest inspiration came from the haute couture houses. Going to the Dior Museum was unbelievable. And thinking about the fashion and the craftsmanship and all of those things, and even kind of thinking that non-traditional wedding gown, because when we look at women's haute couture fashion, it does tend to translate. That was a big thing with Christian Dior back in the 50s. That then he created this new look, the ball gowns and all of those things that then ushered in this whole new era of what wedding gowns look like.
Right.
Because before him, they were all kind of very 40s, streamlined, all of it. And when he came onto the scene, everything started to get just bigger and more beautiful, the ball gowns and the details. So that was absolutely a huge inspiration. But on the flip side, just watching the women in Paris dress, and just so very streamlined and all put
Right.
together with not a lot of crazy embellishments, was pretty cool too.
Modern clean lines. That's what I noticed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Timeless.
Yeah.
Timeless is a big thing for me. And that's really, when people ask about wedding, photos and all of that, I love, we've seen the trends of the boho, like you said, the boho, the beach, the barefoot, all of those things. But, ask yourself this question: when you're looking at your wedding photos in 10 years, what are you going to think?
Yeah,
Like, are
exactly.
you going
Like,
to think you've had a timeless wedding? Are you thinking
what
things
was
are
I
more timeless or
thinking?
trendy?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you say you publish twice a year, and so
We
we're
do.
coming into wedding season now,
We are.
and I know you don't like this word trend, but if you
Right.
could sum up a trend for 2024
Sure.
weddings, what would it be?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's you're still gonna we're always still gonna see those transitions of one kind of year to the other. And I have to say, one of the things that I am absolutely positively most excited about is color. So for
Oh,
quite a few years, what we were seeing in weddings was very much of like blush, greenery, a lot of things like that. And now we are seeing a total 180 to brides embracing color, pattern, textures. And I am here for
are you
every bit
talking
of it.
about on the bridal dress or the wedding
All of
party or
it.
all of it?
All of it, color everywhere. We are seeing from bridal market, we do go up to Chicago once a year. And so we are seeing some gowns that kind of hint at color, kind of over embroidery. Those are a tough call, though, I have to say. Um, you've got to be a very specific bride to want to do something like that. And again, that's usually a decision with her bride and her mom.
Right, right,
So
right.
mom wants to see, every mom wants to see her daughter is like this beautiful
In this
traditional
white
princess
dress.
bride, and I get it. However, what we're seeing is in the decor, we're seeing bright florals that you can really make a powerful statement, rich tones, linens with different textures, chargers in different colors. So that color, even in men's suiting, it's exciting to see men's suiting. I was at a wedding a few months ago, and the groom had the most gorgeous kind of green, like an almost like an emerald, a little bit deeper velvet custom jacket.
Oh, wow.
And that's something that he'll have forever, which I love.
And that's timeless, like you said.
It's timeless. And another couple, this was a cool one. They got engaged in Italy at the Trevi Fountain in Italy. And they then came back to the United States and they had their stationer, who is also an artist, do a painting of the Trevi Fountain. That was the basis for kind of the whole theme of their wedding, so to speak. It was in the invitation liners. Coolest thing ever, though, they had a custom suit jacket made. Someone created the fabric, the silk fabric of that painting, and that was in the groom's jacket.
Oh, wow. I love stories like this.
Talk about an heirloom, right?
Oh, yeah.
Thinking about those things that you pass on to your children. I think that's just so creative and so cool.
Awesome.
But color is a huge thing. Experience is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So having experiences at your wedding, a live painter, a cocktail hour that instead of just butler passed hors d'oeuvres is more interactive food stations, things like that. I love to see even just a special bar with a mixologist that's doing, specific to signature cocktails. Yeah. But they're making them right there. Just a lot of those experiences. Again, I keep going back to Steph's wedding with the kind of the whole music festival thing. I mean, wow, they even had yurts. They rented like these beautiful custom camping tents that were yurts. And that's just the coolest thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I know that we could talk for hours and hours because we actually have before, but we're running out of time and we got to wrap it up. So it's called St. Louis Bride Magazine. Marianne Moore. Yep. I thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, today. Of course. I was happy to be here.
Oh, so great. And you know what? If you ever want to come on again and tell more stories, because I love them.
Let's do it. Yes. Let's do it.
I'd love to. Dear. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff that you do on podcasts. Thanks for joining us on More to Say with Randy Naughton.
This has been More to Say with Randy Naughton. Interesting conversations with interesting people. Be sure to like or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.